And I don't get it. He's so good.
Maybe because they wanted Smith. Waddle is very talented. They needed a receiver for sure. I picked Chase because he was on the board. If not, if Chase had gone, I would have picked Smith over Waddle. And I did, in fact, take Smith over Waddle in my dynasty draft, my rookie draft. I think Smith is the better prospect, so maybe that's why they're mad. But Waddle's not a slouch. I think he'll be a good player.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. Anyways, we're going to move on. So I had pick number 7, the Detroit Lions. I selected Jalen Waddle, who was not there. So the actual 7th pick, the Lions took Penei Sewell. Makes a lot of sense. Jared Goff has been very heavily criticized as of late for not being that good. Give him the best offensive lineman in the draft and see what you can do. So the Lions selected Penei Sewell. Here's where I start to get pissed off. With the 8th pick, Tony for the Panthers selected Penei Sewell. He obviously wasn't there, just picked ahead. And I do think if Penei Sewell was on the board, the Panthers would have selected Sewell. I really do. That being said, with the 8th pick, the Panthers actually took J.C. Horn. A guy that the Cowboys wanted, a guy that the Cowboys needed. But that's okay because there was still another corner on the board. We're all right. With the 9th pick in our mock draft, Dan Beebe, the Broncos selected Justin Fields.
That was wrong.
Yeah, that was wrong because the Broncos actually took Patrick fucking Surtain. So, 2 teams that did not need a corner drafted a corner just ahead of the Cowboys. What the fuck? I'm so pissed. I was so pissed. And then the team just kept pissing me off later. It's like, oh, god damn it. Well, at least in the second round, Asante Samuel and Elijah Molden are available. Did they take either of them? No, they didn't. Anyways, let's move on because the Cowboys were next. Dan O'Shea, you picked for the Cowboys, which you picked Patrick Surtain, which I loved it. That's who I wanted. I know a lot of people think J.C. Horn's better. Patrick Surtain is the guy that I, as the Cowboys fan, wanted. Now, what actually happened...
The Broncos had to just go and steal him from you, which makes no sense. They already had Kyle Fuller. They already had Darby.
Chris Harris.
No need. No need for cornerback. You traded on Fields. I know you traded for Teddy Bridgewater, but do you really think he's the future? We've seen him. He's pretty much going to be a backup, I think, at this point in his career.
They could have used Fields. They could have used Rashawn Slater. They could have used any of the defensive linemen. But no, they take the corner they don't need. I don't get it. Anyways, Dan O'Shea, you selected Patrick Surtain. What actually happened is the Cowboys traded the 10th overall pick to the Eagles, which made no fucking sense. Because you're literally helping the Eagles, A, get a great player, and B, screw over the Giants. Because with the 10th pick, the Cowboys traded to the Eagles, and the Eagles drafted Devontae Smith, who was clearly who the Giants wanted. And did you guys watch the draft?
I was watching it on and off and drinking, so not really.
All right. There are 2 players in the next 2 picks that were not fucking happy that they got drafted where they got drafted. All right? One of them being Devontae Smith. Now, his face when he was drafted was not happy. Like, his family looked kind of excited. I'm sure they knew he wanted to be a Giant. I'm sure they knew the Giants wanted him. And when the Eagles drafted him, he looked annoyed. All right. And it's hilarious because he even unenthusiastically after the draft tweeted asking people where the best Philly cheesesteaks are because he doesn't think they're in Philly. So an all-around fuck you to Philadelphia from their new wide receiver. Fucking he's Devontae Smith. Oh man. Now the next guy I feel even worse for. A couple of weeks ago, Jim McMahon, former quarterback of the Chicago Bears, said that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die, which is what Muhsin Muhammad said about wide receivers. So I'm thinking Chicago is just where football players go to die. But those words must have been on the mind of the Bears because they then traded up with the Giants. For the Giants, picked Rashawn Slater. The Bears traded up with the Giants. Giants got a bunch of picks and actually made out good on this because they got... if you're a Giants fan and you're hoping for a receiver, you just got yourself a fucking insane wide receiver later in the draft. We'll get to it. But the Giants did not select Rashawn Slater. The Chicago Bears with the 11th pick selected Justin Fields, who, remember how I said Devontae Smith looked annoyed? Justin Fields looked like he was about to cry and smash his phone. His family was clearly not happy. And it's hilarious.
I don't think he wanted to go to Chicago. I think he was hoping to go to the 49ers. But that being said, while Chicago doesn't have a great track record, it's not a bad landing spot for a rookie. He's got some very solid weapons there. He's got one of my favorite wide receivers there still. And a really, really solid defense that's going to bail out any mistakes he makes. So I actually really liked it for both the Giants and for Chicago. I think the GM might have just saved his job because Chicago fans were ready to riot when they finished the offseason with Andy Dalton as their only quarterback and their starting quarterback. And Dalton still probably will start at least the first half of the season. But if they're not a playoff team, then I expect Fields to take over. If he starts looking like he's putting it all together at an NFL level in practice, then I think he'll take over. So I really, really don't hate it. I think he will benefit from sitting at first. I think he's the type of quarterback that should sit for at least half a season. So I think it was a good move for both franchises.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Giants won it specifically because they were looking for a wide receiver. The wide receiver they were looking at's a little undersized, but he's speedy, he's got good hands, and the wide receiver they got where they drafted is undersized, very speedy, got good hands, but also makes corners look stupid. So I'm actually excited for what the Giants got out of this draft. We'll get to it. Now, with the 12th pick, originally Tony selected for the Eagles J.C. Horn, which, good pick for the Eagles. That's not how it played out. Philly, as we know, traded their pick to Dallas, and with the 12th pick, Dallas Cowboys selected Micah Parsons. Now, as a Cowboys fan who's watching a Penn State linebacker leave the Cowboys and Sean Lee, I am very excited to watch a Penn State linebacker re-enter the franchise. But I had the realization later that Micah Parsons, I don't think is replacing Sean Lee. I think he's replacing Leighton Vander Esch. I think the Cowboys are going to move on from him.
Because if I remember the notification I got correctly, the Cowboys didn't pick up Vander Esch's fifth-year option for 2022. So
yeah, but they've
on the money with that one.
But they've said, and they said the plan is to re-sign Leighton Vander Esch. Do that mean plans always come true? No, not necessarily. If a team that needs a linebacker comes calling and offers the right offer, they'll take it. But they're saying their plan is that they want to have a rotation that includes Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Micah Parsons, what's his name? Jabril Cox from LSU, and Keanu Neal. They want those 5 to be in a rotation for linebacker. That's their plan, supposedly. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I also think it gives them, negotiating power with Van Der Esch. Like, yeah, we kind of have your replacement, so if you want to leave and don't want to take what money we're offering you, then do so. We're not hurting. So
I honestly look at the drafting of Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons at the time. I looked at it as, all right, so they're adding depth. Parsons can play hand down the end if needed. So if Randy Gregory gets suspended again, we just replace a defensive end, and Aldon Smith's not there. So, it's a good move because he's versatile. He can play multiple positions. The Cowboys also later in the draft drafted a corner that can play safety, and has said he's willing to put on a few pounds and play linebacker if needed. So they drafted some very versatile players, which is good, especially when you're coming into a season where Leighton Vander Esch has been hurt. They've lost to free agency. They've lost Chidobe Awuzie. They lost.
Enough about your Cowboys. Let's move on.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, taking too long. Let's move on to the Chargers with the 13th pick. BB for the Chargers, he selected Elijah Moore. With the 13th pick, they actually selected Rashawn Slater. Fills a need and shows the Bengals that, hey, if you have a new quarterback, you should probably protect him.
Great pick for them. Great pick for Herbie, fully loaded. He definitely needed some protection. They've got the weapons for him. I'm expecting a nice year for Justin Herbert.
After they picked Rashawn Slater, I'm sure he pulled up his pant leg. Justin Herbert did. Looked at his knee, tapped on it, and said, "You're okay, bud. You're okay." Now, the 14th pick, Dan O'Shea, you had the Vikings. You had them drafting Christian Darrisaw. They traded that pick to the Jets. And with the 14th pick, the Jets actually drafted Elijah Vera Tucker. And I bet you're fucking ecstatic.
As what I just said for Herbert is starting to look true for Wilson and the Jets. I'm very, very happy. The left side of the line, it looks like it's set for the next decade. And now we just need to figure out, the other part of the line, but his blind side's protected. Huge.
AVT can play any position.
Not bad capital for the trade.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at all.
He'll be able to play any position. If you need him at right tackle, he'll play right tackle. You need him at left guard, he'll play left guard. He can probably play center too. He's another guy who's versatile. He's big but quick, can block for the pass, can block for the run. He's what you want in a lineman. Kind of like what Dallas and the Raiders and the Titans had for so long. Guys that can just flat out go. That's why they were constantly one of the best offensive lines. And the Jets look like they're trying to build what the Raiders, Titans, and Cowboys had. And the Eagles from like 5 years ago too. So you have to have been very excited. Anyways, pick number 15. I had the New England Patriots selecting quarterback Trey Lance. With the 15th pick, the Patriots actually selected Mac Jones. So I picked both quarterbacks correct to the wrong teams. Just swap them. Trey Lance went 3, Mac Jones went 15. All right, and
we should be scared of that.
No, I'm not scared of that. I wouldn't be worried about Mac Jones. The Patriots don't have the same kind of players they used to. They don't have the same kind of receiving core. You're not going to have a wide receiver that can run through an overthrown ball because Mac Jones overthrows people.